Hi everyone, and we've got some potentially controversial news here today with the Nintendo Switch 2, or Nintendo's next home console. For now I'm just calling it the Switch 2, that comes from a potentially reliable source, so let's get right into it.
Lockhart QT.
So I don't know if you heard recently, but there's another big rumour coming from the Xbox Era podcast as well as Special Nick, who they recently put out news that Metroid Prime 4 will have some open world features that a lot of news outlets and YouTubers are covering. And after doing a bit of research, I found that they've gotten a lot of things right before regarding both Xbox, PlayStation and Nintendo titles, such as news on Halo Infinite before the game even launched, and even before the news was actually covered by Microsoft themselves. So they do have a decent track record, but as always, nothing is official until it has been announced by Nintendo themselves. By the way, we're well on our way to 5,000 subscribers, and if you do like this sort of content on the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more Nintendo Switch news, rumours and leaks. So according to this report, the next piece of Nintendo hardware coming next year will have some sort of controversial gimmick or feature that is, quote, very PlayStation-like. Well, it turns out that this controversial feature could be the implementation of a SIM card for wireless network connection and data roaming, as well as it could also potentially be Nintendo releasing two separate systems on launch day, as well as some other potential things that I'll cover throughout the video here. So let's firstly start off with the two separate systems rumour. This is very possible in my opinion, as digital sales of software are growing day to day. This was made even more popular during the pandemic, where people couldn't leave their homes in 2020 to 2022, but since then gaming companies have seen a rise in people staying at home, downloading games purchased online, as it's much easier to do than they can essentially go to a store and pick up a physical release. It's much easier just to sit in your own home, purchase a game and download it. So Nintendo could have two separate systems on launch day, just as with Microsoft did, for example, with the Series S and the Series X, as well as Sony with the two different models of the PS5. Personally, I like having games, their actual physical release cases on a shelf, as I'm a collector myself, but at the same time, the ease of paying for online in the comfort of your home and then downloading a game straight away cannot be ignored. So I think Nintendo giving customers two different options, such as Sony and Microsoft, is a very good thing. For example, if I want digital releases, I'll just buy the digital version of the Switch 2, whereas if I want the ability to have physical, cartridge games, then I'll buy the Switch 2, the actual, the main version. Next up is SIM cards. I don't think Nintendo would go down this route, but if the Switch 2 is indeed a portable hybrid like the Switch, then having a SIM card for internet access whilst on the go could be huge. This could also be something like how the PS Vita implemented SIM card use, if you guys remember that, with providers such as O2 and Vodafone potentially making SIM cards for the Nintendo Switch 2. Next up, another speculation on what Nintendo could do with their next console is VR, virtual reality. Nintendo have touched on VR before with Labo, but it wasn't really like full VR, it was just, like the sort of cardboard sleeve that you'd put over your Switch and hold up to your face, sort of like binoculars, which didn't quite catch on as well as something like the Oculus or the Vive, but they could be... Nintendo could do something very Nintendo with it. They could provide their own gimmick, as Nintendo usually do that with hardware. They do something completely left field, out of the ordinary, that no one expected. I think if Nintendo did this for VR, it could be really interesting, as if Nintendo had an affordable VR headset that was compatible with Switch 2 and possibly backwards compatible with Switch games, as well as Nintendo launching their own VR exclusive games, this could be huge. A few examples could be Mario Kart VR. You could have Link's crossbow training, if you guys remember that for the Wii, but on VR. Or you could have a Kirby game where it's like a first-person Kirby game where you're like sucking item things. I don't have a clue, that sounds really weird. Kirby just sucking items and power-ups in first person, but hey, that's the first thing that popped in my head. But lastly, one thing that could be more PlayStation-like, quote unquote, could be better online features. In my opinion, with online play, Nintendo are at least 10 plus years behind Sony and Microsoft. In my opinion, the Switch 2 could really benefit from having party chat features, built-in chat to, chat with people online without the need for an external mobile phone app, because I think that's absolutely bonkers in 2023 that Nintendo are still doing this. Simple, adding friends without the need for a long ass friend code, just, type their name in, they appear, job done, you add them. Text chatting. I know Nintendo want to protect their younger audience, but again, Xbox and Sony have been doing this since the PS2 and the original Xbox, so if they could catch up and just allow us to chat to people, because it's not as if people are just going to say, well, I'm too young, I'm not going to do it. They'll find another means, they'll find a third-party outlet such as Discord or Messenger or WhatsApp or something to chat to people, and having something built in could be huge. They could emphasise more on cloud gaming options as well, as they have been sort of venturing in that with the Switch, and I feel like, with Nintendo hardware usually not being as powerful as they really should be in terms of the newer releases not being able to run on Nintendo hardware, I reckon if they did implement cloud gaming more and make it more stable, for example implementing things like with SIM card features as well, then we could see this as a more regular thing. And lastly, with more better online features, I'd love to see the return of themes for Nintendo consoles. How on earth the Switch doesn't have themes on like the main menu, like the main home menu, is bonkers. Like Mario themes, Splatoon themes, Animal Crossing themes, Pokemon themes, just even like a still image. It doesn't have to be like a dynamic theme. Dynamic themes are brilliant, but even if it's just a still image and it changes like the icons and the aesthetic, I would still love that anyway. Anyway everyone, thank you so much for watching the video today, and for more Nintendo Switch 2 rumours, leaks and news, stay subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!